Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, special edition of the Terrible Podcast. I am Alex Kozora. As always, with me is Dave Bryan. Happy Saturday, August 7th to your Steelers Nation. Dave, Steelers back out at Heinz Field for their first practice following their Thursday preseason opener Hall of Fame game, and the Hall of Fame inductions happening right now. Mel Blount on my screen with the cowboy hat as Harold Carmichael gives his induction speech. So big weekend for Steelers Nation with 5 in the Hall of Fame, practices, games. I mean, it is just Steelers wall to wall this weekend.
Absolutely, and boy, it is fun seeing this, and hopefully we'll get this wrapped up to see the couple of of Steelers that are going to speak tonight and all, and then obviously on in tomorrow as well too. Looks like we've known all day Troy Polamalu made it to Canton, so that's fantastic to see. He got his gold jacket a little while ago there, so it's a great, as a great Dick LeBeau would say, it's a great day to be alive, right?
Absolutely, and yeah, let's just skip the podcast. We can listen to the Hall of Fame. It's a good day of practice. Everyone's
all right,
healthy,
yeah,
and we're clear.
drive safe.
Yeah. All right, Dave, let's get to the injury report here. In fairly good shape, I would say, coming out of a game, not practicing at all today, was running back Benny Snell. Although we saw Benny Snell today, he was on the exercise bike quite a bit before practice, early on in practice, so that's a positive step, I suppose. Wide receiver Cody White, he seems close to a return with that hamstring. Kalen Ballage, lower body. Stephon Tuitt was not even on the field today, according to Keith Butler. And Calvin Taylor with a boot in that left foot. So that could be something obviously potentially serious for him, and he cannot afford to miss much time.
Yeah, I think we're one short on the roster still, too, right?
We are. They're at 89 still.
89. So I suspect we'll have something else to write about here in the next, 24 hours or so. You didn't spot anybody new out there today, right?
Not besides Lafayette Pitts, who we knew had been signed. He will wear number 30, replacing DeMarcus Acey, who wore 30 and tore his ACL last week.
Okay, and people returning to practice today, you hit on that, Chukwuma Okorafor. How much did Banner do?
Banner felt like he was almost 100% full. Now, it was in shells today, no pads, no tackling. He had been taken out of some of the tackling sessions, last week. So, we'll see if he's truly all systems go. But he's basically all the way back. Yeah. Big news of the day, Chukwuma Okorafor working in team drills for the first time. Again, still limited to a fairly decent degree. Get about 2 or 3 reps in team session and then get pulled for Dan Moore Jr. So he's not all the way back, but taking steps definitely in the right direction. Kevin Dotson in individual work. I always screw that up trying to say in individual work today. Was not in team, but again, progress there. Thank goodness for him. I was getting really anxious to see some sort of progression with him. TJ Watt in individual work. Was not in team. We'll talk about that here maybe in a second. Eric Ebron also full. So was Pat Freiermuth with that shoulder injury that caused him to miss the Hall of Fame game. He was back full today and actually played quite a bit of snaps.
All right, so starting to get maybe the line going back the other way with in the health department. Well, obviously nothing new known yet on Benny Snell Jr. and what might be ailing him, and Kalen Ballage, that was still lower body as far as we know from what Tomlin has said the other night. But outside of the Tony Brooks Jr. edition a few days ago, that nothing else has happened. So hopefully things will keep going with the arrow going the other way there. And boy, it'd be good to get some of them offensive linemen to start working together, right?
Yeah, and I feel like they're at least starting to take some real strides in that direction. So let's hope that it continues. By the way, Chase Claypool was a full participant after, I think, getting the wind knocked out of him in Thursday's game. And James Washington was there. A lot of disputes about, has he really asked for a trade or not, but he was practicing in full today.
Yeah, there was a report by Adam Schefter, and we'll cover this more in depth when we get to get around to the Monday Terrible Podcast edition and all. But for those that are just catching up, there was a report by Adam Schefter on Friday stating that Washington has asked the Steelers to be traded. Tomlin really downplayed that, in so many words, saying, we don't pay any mind to any, I forgot what exact term he used after practice, but pretty much essentially outside reports, they don't respond to that kind of thing. And then Jerry Dulac later on Saturday night reports that according to multiple sources that James Washington has not requested a trade. So we have a he said, she said, he said, Schefter said type situation here. Look, we'll get into our thoughts on this more in depth on the Monday podcast, I think.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's talk about what happened at today's practice. Again, a bit lower key because they were in shells, understandably so, 2 days after the preseason game. Let's start with quarterback though, Dave. I thought Mason Rudolph had, to me, I think his best practice so far. Pushing the ball downfield, led a really strong 2-minute drill for a touchdown, finished off with a 5-yard completion to Matthew Sexton. Had a beautiful deep ball up down the right sideline, a really good catch by rookie undrafted receiver Isaiah McCoy. Kind of his specialty in college was running vertically. And so even before that, even in other team drills, he was pushing the ball downfield. Some nice throws to Ray McLeod. So I think the fans probably won't like to hear it, but a good day for Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, there went half of our listenership tonight. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening there. Yeah, you went and done praised Mason Rudolph, so that's cut out half of our listeners here. Look, I don't know where you come down to. I've watched it 4 times now, and I bet you have as well. I still come out of that thinking, just as a whole, for one preseason game, that none of the quarterbacks played fantastic. But I guess if you're going to rank them overall, it would be Dobbs just a little bit higher than Mason Rudolph, and then Mason Rudolph a little bit higher than Dwayne Haskins. That's the way I came away with my rankings. And if not really for the touchdown pass, I think the touchdown, the timing of the touchdown pass by Dobbs to Simmons is kind of what sealed it for him. And really I thought the difference between Mason was him pushing the football down the field a couple of times there and having a little bit longer completions there. So. We try to look at this as objectively as possible. We know that a lot of you listening don't. Nothing that we say will sway your opinion, but our job is to kind of report what we see and pass it along.
And I do want to be clear. I don't want to necessarily 100% correlate the idea of pushing the ball down the field to good play, because you can push the ball down the field, make a lot of mistakes, and you can be a check-down-minded practice and be better. So I don't want to pretend like just because you're throwing it downfield means that you had a better practice. There are times, as Tomlin talked about, based on coverage that's going to dictate short throws versus throws downfield. But Rudolph did that effectively and in right situations, not forcing passes and things like that. So I just want to add that caveat, because I know sometimes we kind of make that black and white, but it's not always so. But again, Rudolph, a good practice today.
All right.
Let's go to running back. Not a whole lot to talk about. You really can't judge those guys incredibly well in non-tackling sessions when they're not in pads and things like that. Trey Edmonds with a fumble. He does not get many carries, so a fumble is not something you want to see on his practice report. Tony Brooks-James has some more burst than I remember, a little bit of juice to his game. So not that we're going to see a whole lot of him, not like he's going to make the roster, the 53 at least, but a little bit of burst in this game I'm seeing.
Yeah, he is a guy that obviously was on the 53-man roster a couple years ago there and got 1 or 2 carries there. But once this unit gets a little bit healthier, once Balaj when and if Snell gets back to work, either he or Trey Edmonds might be outdoor. I mean, obviously, look, Trey Edmonds, outside of having some special teams ability, really nothing there to work with.
Yeah, I mean, he does. Again, he wears a lot of hats. I just don't know what he wears well. He's got some size, so leaves him as fullback. A bit of a space kind of guy. Had a decent block out in space, I think, on a screen to Samuels today, I want to say. So there's nothing there for the 53, but he still might hang around the practice squad the way he has the last, 2-3 seasons.
Right.
At wide receiver, pretty active day for Ray McLeod. Some passes, some catches downfield, I should say. I'll have to get the stats on him. And McCoy with that big catch on the right sideline, a really good catch. It was a little out in front, but where it needed to be from Rudolph, and McCoy made the diving play. I think it went 46 yards officially, going through my notes of what that completion was. So just one catch, but a big one in a 2-minute drill.
All right, and obviously, how does he look? We talked about him coming out of Kent State and his tape and that time, speed versus the way it looked on film. Look, no one's going to, at least no one should pretend that he looked like a blazer on the field outside there, but he was still able to get separation. What do you have a good vantage point on him in sort of like maybe the team sessions and the one-on-ones, or is he able to get on top and stack some of these guys, or no?
I mean, he did, and I don't know exactly how he did it, but he did have a step or two, and I think stacked Justin Lane on that catch. But overall, it feels like he plays to that time speed where he's really not going to run away from a lot of guys. He'll have to win with his body, his size, and his release to kind of just box out some of these guys. So I don't get the sense that he's running away from guys, and it's expected, but I don't get the sense he's doing it as frequently as he did at Kent State.
And he's not a very nuanced route runner either, right?
Yeah, from what I can tell, I mean, I'm sure there's nuance with his release and getting vertical, and there's stuff there to talk about. But obviously, he's not a Deontay Johnson or someone like that that's going to run some really crisp, in-breaking type routes.
Right, and he's more of a Z than anything else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's kind of your classic Z receiver, go vertical. Again, very much the poor man's James Washington, where they're more straight line, stiffer guys that can be vertical threats without having 4.5 speed there, or 4.4 speed, I should say. They're more 4.5, 4.6 kind of guys.
Outside of the guys that we think will make the roster or know will make the roster, barring any trades, how would you kind of? And I know it's all kind of positionally for the most part. What do you need? A ZX or a slot, but just kind of rank those guys. Between the Bussies and the McCoys and the Sextons and the Simmons. Kind of where do those guys fit?
In terms of their likelihood of making the practice squad?
I mean, just how would you rank them overall talent-wise?
Oof, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, because they're in different buckets. I mean, there's so many different body types and styles and special teams versus actual receiver work that's a really hard question, and I probably don't have a good answer for that. I think Sexton's been impressive for the special teams value, for the straight line speed that he has, had the touchdown to cap off the 2-minute drill today. Anthony Johnson's a guy with some versatility. He can basically play all three spots, can play some special teams for you, a big slot kind of guy. So, I mean, just to answer the question of who has the best chance to make the practice squad, I might lean Anthony Johnson and then maybe one of Matthew Sexton or Tyler Simmons. But, of course, there's still 3 games to go to figure all this stuff out.
Here's the thing, though, when it comes to Sexton, technically, I guess if you needed him to, he would probably be the best candidate maybe that could play all 3 positions on a moment's notice, right? We've seen him kind of work the Z in college. He's kind of got that slot body type, and I guess you could get away with him in an emergency situation as the X, right? I mean, would he be the guy just from a tool standpoint that might be a three position player? You see what I'm going?
Yeah, I do. Who's the most versatile receiver? I think it might be Anthony Johnson, though, would be my answer to that. Now, Sexton has additional value in the punt return game and special teams, but Johnson can play gunner as well and had that fumble recovery on Thursday. So in terms of the versatile guy, I would probably go Anthony Johnson. From a pure talent standpoint, to try to answer that question, I might lean Rico Bussey. But again, it's early, and I want to see these guys go through 3 games. I imagine the next 3-4 weeks we'll kind of answer some of those questions.
Okay.
At tight end, Eric Ebron back, so that was good. And I don't want to cause for alarm here necessarily, and I want to kind of keep an eye on it the next couple of days. But because I know Ebron missed 5 practices, and of course the game. Not that he was probably going to play even if he was healthy, but he was back today in team and did work with the first team to some degree. But Pat Freiermuth was getting he was the first man in at tight end in team reps, in team drills, and ahead of Eric Ebron. And so that's an interesting note there. Does it mean something? Does it mean nothing? I'm not quite sure, but I'm always interested to see how lines and things look after the first game. Now, granted, Ebron and Freiermuth did not play in this game, but that just caught my eye today, so I want to see what it looks like tomorrow.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see what transpires there. I mean, I've always, since he was drafted, thought Freiermuth is going to probably be in line to at least 400 to 500 snaps. But boy, I mean, if he were to, jump Ebron, and I don't think you're suggesting that just yet. It's just something to kind of watch. That would really ramp up his stat totals there, because once again, I'm going to wince anytime I see Ebron on the field at this point right now, attached to the line of scrimmage, especially when you have a guy that you drafted in the second round in Freiermuth. Is there any chance whatsoever? You know what I'm about to ask here, right?
I don't know if I do, actually. Go ahead and ask it.
With Ebron and his salary and all, and if he can't maintain the number, I think based on what you're kind of saying there, you're going to probably start having those kind of questions asked, I would think.
Well, you suggesting cut or trade?
I'm not suggesting. I'm just asking.
Are you asking about him
is there a possibility him not being on the Steelers 53-man roster come week 1? However you want to go about.
I find those odds still to be highly unlikely, but I want to see what these next couple days look like. And again, maybe this is me borrowing your tinfoil hat here, but it just caught my eye today. And again, that could be him just easing the snaps back in the way they have with the core 4 and Banner and guys like that. That is certainly possible. But Pat Freiermuth today, if you were just watching today alone, you'd say Pat Freiermuth is playing ahead of Eric Ebron. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and Ebron is not going to play special teams for you, right? So, and look, I don't know how many showers you needed after watching some of that Kevin Rader tape the other night, but I mean that did not look awful, as I like to say. And Gentry's supposedly made a few strides here, right?
He has, but still as a blocker, it's a work in progress. I mean, he lost a block to Alex Highsmith today. He got beaten pass pro by Cassius Marsh. Those are, granted, some maybe more difficult matchups for him to win, but ones that he's going to be asked to win at this level. So there has been progress there as a receiver and as a blocker. I thought he did, decent in the opener against Dallas. But Rader's going to be the better blocker of the two. Between if it comes down to Kevin Rader and Zach Gentry, he is just the better blocker.
All right, so let's just leave it at Alex told us to watch this.
Yep, I'm not making any conclusions. I want to see patterns. What's the old one is a whatever, two is a trend. I don't know what the phrase is. You know what I'm saying. But let's just something on my mind I'll be watching for tomorrow.
Okay.
Offensive line, again, just good to see some of those guys come back. A core for working first-team left tackle. So your first-team offensive line today started to feel closer to the real thing of a core for Coward, Green, Turner, and Banner. So aside from the left guard spot with Dotson, hopefully he can join them maybe by, I don't know, what's today? What is today? Saturday. Maybe by Monday or Tuesday. I'm just speculating. We'll obviously let you know, but just good to see him out there. And I thought Mike Tomlin had a good point about Kendrick Green. You talk about guys that have been available and practicing every single day. The only one in terms of projected starters is Kendrick Green, because Turner missed the practice and didn't play Thursday evening, although that was probably planned and intended by the team. So just his availability to take reps, to get better, to make mistakes and learn and grow, I think is an underrated part of this process.
Yeah, so is that little motor scooter that he gets on out in open space as well too. That little thing that he brought with him to Pittsburgh there. That guy can he play running back?
I had the relative athletic score of him versus the tight ends not named Eric Ebron. He has a higher RAS score than any of the other tight ends that we have numbers on. We don't have one for Freiermuth, but he's basically, what I'm saying is he's more athletic if he was a tight end than Zach Gentry, Kevin Rader, or Marcus Baugh.
I tell you what, if he doesn't work out at his center, that's your new fullback right there, probably.
Yeah. Right. That play you're talking about, the screen pass, he didn't block anyone, but man, just how well he moved in space. You just don't find too many guys like that. So he didn't block anyone. I think he was going for the safety third level, but I will teach him how to block somebody. You can't teach someone to be that athletic and play center.
It looked like somebody like Mom told him the Hot Pockets were ready.
That's when that's what happens when you hear about a pulling guard, right? That's how quick you move.
Absolutely, boy. I like seeing those linemen on the move, man. I really do.
So I don't have a whole lot of other notes for the O-line today, other than to say they were healthier and they're taking steps in that right direction. And just from the game, I thought Dan Moore and Kendrick Green showed their athleticism and did some good things. I have a film study on that up on Steelers Depot.
Overall, how many total played? 10 or was it 10, 11? was it 11 or 12 offensive linemen that played the other night in total. 3 different line sets in total, but a lot of those line sets look the same other than Hassenhauer being in there instead of Green. Going back through that thing, Alex, I thought, and I think we said this the other day as well too. I thought the offensive line represented himself well, all 3 sets, to be honest with you. Now, were there minor things? Yeah, I mean there were, but I just thought for the most part, I thought Adrian Clem had him coached up pretty good. I saw some aggressiveness in there and not too many overall mistakes. I thought pass pro was pretty good. So I just want to put that out there, because we had talked about, what. Let's go back through the tape a couple more times before we kind of comment further on there. But do you agree?
I do. I think I just kind of said last show, whenever it was, about the surprise of the game, and it was the play of the offensive line. And the more I watch that unit, the better. Not even just from an aggression standpoint, although I think they had that, but just from an assignment standpoint. Did they even have a penalty? Was there a penalty on the O-line in that game? I don't believe there was.
I don't think so. Was there?
If there was, it maybe it was just one. So just an overall readiness and, from a mental standpoint, assignment standpoint, again, not perfect by any means, but better than where I thought it would be. So that is a positive sign. Again, half of those guys will not be starting week 1, but still good to see.
Okay.
Defensive line, again, not a ton of notes here from practice today. Obviously, a lot to talk about in the game. We can table until Monday's show. But Carlos Davis looked like he was getting some more snaps today. And I don't think anyone was not in practice that, should have been. Obviously, Tuitt's still out, but aside from Calvin Taylor, but Davis is running ahead of Calvin Taylor. So it was more nickel snaps, it felt like, than base, but maybe some increased reps there for Carlos Davis, who I did think had a good showing in the second half of that game.
Yeah, I thought both him and Bugs, for the most part, represented him. So, well, once again, the defensive line as a whole. Now, there was Loudermilk. I saw him get pushed around a little bit on 2 plays, not for my liking there, on a couple of run plays. And but overall, I thought defensive line-wise, I thought Wormley played good in that contest. I thought Henry Mondeau kind of represented himself well as well there. Now, obviously, Cameron Hayward didn't play. Tyson Alualu didn't play. Stephon Tuitt didn't play. A lot of your primary guys didn't play there. But once again, and it was the same with the offensive line, not having your starters in there. But I thought for the most part, there were some hiccups against a couple running plays there. I thought, but I thought they represented themselves well.
Yeah, it's an athletic, hungry, competitive, high motor group of guys. And Davis was showing good bursts. I thought Bugs really had good hand use in that game. Mondo was getting off of blocks, and Loudermilk did as well. So, I just think it's a really good group top to bottom. And I think the toughest decisions on who to cut and who to keep is probably going to come along that D-line.
All right.
Outside linebacker,
what a group.
It's a good group overall. I mean, today, not a whole lot to talk about in particular, but Quincy, just from that game, not to talk about the game too much, but they got so much pressure. I mean, they had, Jameer Jones had 3 pressures. Roche had a couple. They got sacks from Marsh and Roche and Alex Highsmith. So, again, a really kind of emerging group. And, there's that TJ Watt guy who's yet to practice as well, but he's pretty good.
Yeah, he is pretty good. And I think in so many words today after practice, Butler keeps putting it on Danny Smith, and Danny Smith will probably say that's on the Rudy.
That's the first thing I thought.
But and look, it's something you and I preach yearly that a lot of people just don't like to hear sometimes, but usually those, the bottom end of those inside linebacker, outside linebacker depth charts, less about whether or not they can get after the quarterback and more about how much they can help Danny Smith out on special teams there. So I think that's really something to pay attention to. Yeah, look, there's some great clips from all. I'm jealous too. Some people got some all 22 tape.
I know.
And it's driving me absolutely nuts. And I'm trying to hit whatever sources I can to get it and coming up empty. And I think you are as well too there. But at least some people are posting some of that stuff out there. Nice rip move by Quincy Roche in that game the other night. I thought we also talked about already about Jameer Jones and him representing himself well. I think one of the telling tales, though, is Jones played more overall defensive snaps and more special team snaps by a little bit as well, too. I haven't gone back and looked to see if either one of Jones or Roche did anything on special teams to kind of talk about. But that's really something, assuming both those guys stay healthy. And this is going to assume that Cassius Marsh is locked in right now, which I suppose that could change. Mm-hmm. But if you're talking about the Steelers possibly keeping a fifth outside linebacker between Roche and Jameer Jones, it's probably going to come down to special teams play. And I would just kind of, judging by the context of what Butler said after practice on Saturday, it feels like Jameer Jones is in the lead, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I still don't know if they're going to keep a fifth outside linebacker, but certainly you're talking strong practice squad material for either and probably even both of those guys, Jameer Jones and Quincy Roche. I still have Marsh as the number 4 right now. I will say one other note from today, just watching some of the drills and even one playing team, Melvin Ingram cannot cover. Do not drop Melvin Ingram backwards at all this year. And he's 32, so I mean you expect that. But
it's like James Harrison a couple of years ago, you know.
Do not ask Melvin Ingram to cover. Keep him going forward, and all will be good. Move him backwards, and things will be less good.
Okay.
So there's that note there. Very, very blunt, my approach to this one. Inside linebacker, Devin Bush with some good breakups today. You know, people can debate about the one that was posted on Twitter about that breakup on Friday. I think it was a good play overall for Devin Bush. That's a tough drill for a defense to be in. He ends up rallying, making the play, breaking up the pass. And he had breakups on Najee Harris, I think once or twice today. So a good day for Devin Bush.
Look, overall, what do you expect an inside? You know, he isn't a cornerback. You know, now he did that ball did seem to kind of be underthrown a little bit there. I guess you could kind of question whether or not it was pass interference too. You know, would there have been a pass interference penalty called on that with him not getting his head around there based on that clip?
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, this drill is so
it's slanted, right? To
begin with, I'll give him the grace of those qualifiers.
Right. I think people look at those drills and they expect those linebackers to they're linebackers. They're not cornerbacks. You know,
it's not even that. It's just, you know, you're covering an entire space. There's no rush. There's no timing. There's no safety help. Like, you know, you're going to struggle sometimes vertically, but he made the play. I mean, anytime you get a breakup in that drill, I think it's a win for the defense. I don't really care how it happens.
Right. Okay. So. But I think we come out of the game the other night and really in so many words, it doesn't sound like Keith Butler was overly happy with the play of his inside linebackers the other night. You know, and
there was some dead gums in that transcript today.
Yeah. I mean, look, Spillane, UG3, not great. If there was a bright spot in any of it, it was probably Buddy, right?
It felt like it. Yeah, I mean, you know, UG3 had that missed tackle on third down, and that was a negative. He had some pressure. And granted, I think he came in free a time or two, but beat a running back at least on one of those reps. So I don't want to overreact necessarily to one game there. But yeah, I mean, they're all trying. They're still young guys, still battling, still figuring this stuff out. So I don't think any of those guys were particularly good on Thursday. Maybe not even today, but I'm not panicking over it.
Right. It's still early. It's one game. Right.
Mm-hmm. Just good to see 55 back out there. Let's see. At corner, trying to think of my notes today. Again, Lane got beat twice. Also, receiver, good jump ball touchdowns by James Washington and Chase Claypool. One came against Hayden. One came against Washington over Justin Lane. So Lane got beat twice today. Other than that, I don't think I have a whole lot at corner. A lot of reps today for Shakur Brown with Brooks being out. Do we mention Antoine Brooks being out? I don't know if I did or not. He did not practice today, and so Millette was the first team slot, but Brown was second team, so he got more reps today than he has any practice so far.
All right. Got some positive stuff from Keith Butler on Trey Norwood after practice today. And look, Gilbert, Mark Gilbert, I don't think he's going to make the 53, but you know, there's maybe some developmental stuff there with him. I think you posted a good clip of him in coverage against the Cowboys, getting turned around and recovering real quick there. And I think there was another instance as well too of him kind of reading a route and breaking on the football the other night.
Yeah. They got a ton of big, long corners, Mark Gilbert, Steven Denmark. Those guys, I think, are strong practice squad material. Still a fifth cornerback spot open. And Shakur Brown, maybe not making a lot of plays defensively, but those three kick coverage tackles is going to endear himself to Danny Smith, even if Smith isn't the actual decision maker. But that's hard to ignore.
And that 17 also played. Gilbert also, was doing some gunner work as well too. So that's those big, longer corners like that. Having the ability to play some on special teams, especially as a jammer or gunner, has a little bit of extra value there on top of it.
Absolutely. At safety, big win of the day to me was Lamont Wade, had an interception in 7-on-7. I don't put a great deal of stock into that, but still, big play is a big play, and had a forced fumble on Trey Edmonds in team. Ripped it out of his hand, and Edmonds recovered the football, but still a forced fumble for Wade. So seeing some splash from him, he can wear some hats, and just good to see some big plays out of a rookie like Lamont Wade.
All right, anything on the specialist side? You time any punts or anything today, or?
Nope, very quiet. No punts. Return line about normal. McLeod and McCoy and I think McFarland were in kick return work, but they were obviously working on stuff, getting off blocks and coverage type stuff. But no kicks, no punts today, so not a whole lot for me to note there.
All right, give me two main things that stuck out to you today, and then give me maybe two players of the day.
Let's see. Two things that stuck out. Rudolph leading that 2-minute drive for a touchdown. I thought was an impressive showing. Just a good practice overall for him.
And there just went whatever left of the people that were.
Well, they're already here. I mean, they hung around for the first comments. I mean, I think the big winners of the day were Lamont Wade and Mason Rudolph to me, and just making those plays. And so that was just good to see overall. And so we'll see if they're in pads tomorrow. I have no idea if they'll be in pads tomorrow. So it'll be an interesting question.
All right. So there's a practice Sunday. Are they off Monday? Or are they working Monday?
Nope. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's going to be a busy couple of days.
So you're gonna have to drink the Gatorade, aren't you? And, all right. All right.
Will be tested.
There you go. Tell people about our sponsor, Touring Plans.
Yeah, big shout out to Touring Plans in Lentesta. If you're planning a trip to Disney, that's the company you want to go through for logistics and just making sure that experience, which can be obviously chaotic and stressful and all those kinds of things, is the least of those things as possible. So go to touringplans.com. And we thank them for being a very long-time sponsor of the Steelers Depot training camp coverage.
Yeah, if you do anything at all, and you're doing a trip to Disney, make sure you use them at touringplans.com. And in the meantime, jump on the Twitter machine or something and search Touring Plans or Lentesta and thank them for being a sponsor. They've been a sponsor for years. They help keep this stuff free and keep Alex going back and forth to training camp as well too. So we appreciate them. All right, Alex, let's watch some induction speeches. How about that?
Yes, sir. Cannot wait, man. Troy, Cower, Shell tonight, Faneca, building on video ceremony tomorrow. It's going to be awesome.
All right, look forward to getting your report tomorrow as well, too. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. And once again, as always, thanks for listening to this special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2021 with Dave and Alex.